Good evening, everyone, and thank you for watching VATV. As you know, that we have an incoming municipal election on November 3rd. So this evening, we had the honor to introduce to our audience one of the best familiar candidates for Boston City Council at large. Ladies and gentlemen, City Council at large, Stephen Murphy.
Thank you.
Good
It's
evening,
an honor
sir.
to be here. Thank you.
You were elected in 1997. That is for a long time. Do I need to introduce you to our audience?
No, I hope not. If you do, I'm in trouble. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm in my 19th year on the Boston City Council. For 15 of those years, I've been chairman of the Public Safety Committee, which has oversight of Boston Police, Boston Fire, and Boston's EMS ambulance service. For 3 years, I was City Council President, elected unanimously by my colleagues, which was a great honor. And I worked alongside as City Council President with the late Mayor Thomas M. Menino to try to make Boston a better city. Every day we go in there, all of us, and try to give it our best to make the city as perfect as we can in these times. And it's been my honor to represent the people of Boston for 19 years. And I'm looking to continue that in that role as a city councilor. And I hope people will elect me on November 3rd or re-elect me on November 3rd.
Yeah, that's the big question. Why you think you need to continue to run for re-election?
Well, Boston is changing.
Yeah.
And I can answer that question, but I would like to give a little background, if I may, about myself. I was born in Dorchester. I'm Fuller Street, which is a little bit closer to Lower Mills than Fields Corner. My grandmother used to live on Linden Street in Fields Corner, so I'm very familiar with Dorchester Avenue. And growing up as a youngster, and I've seen Boston change and Dorchester change and the neighborhoods change, but people still have problems. I went to the Boston Public Schools, and then I got into Boston Latin School. And from there, I went to college at Stonehill College, which is down in Easton, Massachusetts. And I got a business degree at Stonehill. And for the first 5 years after I graduated from Stonehill, I was in private sector in transportation. And I grew up from becoming a personnel supervisor to becoming vice president of a major transportation company that employed up to 400 people. And so I learned about budgets and how to make a business work. And the transportation company was sold, and I left and I went to work in the Massachusetts Senate as a budget analyst. And I learned about public budgets and how it's so much different, how public funds come from taxpayer dollars and go back into cities and towns, and local aid and cherry sheets. And I brought all of that knowledge with me, both private and public sector, when I became a city councilor. So I've been kind of like a fiscal watchdog for the taxpayers in over the last 19 years, and I've done some things to make Boston more money and save money for taxpayers. A couple of those things, and I don't want to drone on because this is your show, but a couple of years ago, we were faced with maybe closing some libraries. I don't know if you remember that. One of them was a library at Lower Mills, and there were 4 libraries closing because the state had refused to fund the portion that they were funding. And I went in to see Mayor Menino, and I said, Mayor, now if we refinance the convention center bonds that we use to build the convention center and get a lower interest rate, we can save that money and kick it into the libraries. And he did. And we saved $18 million and kept the 4 libraries open. And that's an example of my financial leadership paying dividends for Boston's residents to keep libraries open. I also am the author of the payment in lieu of taxes for colleges and for hospitals, because they do not pay property taxes. They're tax exempt. And the only way Boston can get revenue is through the property tax. We don't get sales tax or income tax. So when they don't pay property taxes, they're kind of free for the people of Boston they're free of revenue, giving revenue or paying resources to Boston. So I reformed pilot payment in lieu of taxes with Mayor Menino at the time and my council colleagues. And now we get an additional $30 million in revenue, and the hospitals help our health centers in the neighborhoods, and the colleges educate our kids. So it's beneficial to the people in the neighborhoods, all of the people of Boston. They get additional resources. And those are the types of things that I've done over my career. And the job isn't finished, frankly. It continues to go on, and we continue to evolve and try to make Boston that very special place that we all know it can be.
Yeah. You were elected 3 terms a city council president.
Yes.
Yeah. What is that time?
What is?
The time when
Oh, 2011, 2012, and 2013, those 3 terms.
And what is your achievement for a president different from a councilor?
Well, the president is a councilor.
Yeah.
And it also, the president runs the council meetings with the gavel.
Yeah.
And hands out the committee chairmanships and runs the administrative part of the city council. It's a $6 million city department, and it has 78 employees. And the city council president is the administrator of that. So I had 3 years of doing that, and then I was term limited. Otherwise, I might still be there, because you're only supposed to do 2 years, but my colleagues gave me 3. Apparently nobody else wanted the job. So I did 3 years, and I worked very closely with Mayor Menino during those 3 years to make the Boston City Council a relevant partner in city government. And it is a relevant partner because we have very popular and powerful mayors in Boston. We had Tom Menino, we now have Marty Walsh, a good man. But under the city's charter, no public funds can be expended, no public money can be spent without the approval of the Boston City Council. And that's kind of a check and balance that citizens have, so that the government always works for the citizens. There's a part of our U.S. Constitution says government by the people, for the people, of the people. And that's what that means. Translating that to the city level, it's the power of the purse strings are in the people, the closest form of government, the city council. So, and I'm someone who's experienced. I remember when I was running for the first time, my slogan was, "Give a young man a chance." Now my slogan is, "There is no substitute for experience."
Thank you, Councilor, for all the information. Besides your being a president, you chair many committees.
Prior to that,
which committee you think you more interested or?
Well, I've always been interested in public safety, and that's the committee I chaired for the most part, and I'm chairing that committee now, and that has oversight of police, fire, and Boston EMS. And it's a critical committee because the education budget is the largest budget of the city. It's $1 billion. And then the combined public safety budgets are almost $450 million. And that's the 2,200 police officers that we have on the streets, 1,500 firefighters, and the 400 EMTs that work for Boston. and having the oversight over those departments is important because they're critical departments. They could be critical department to any Bostonian. You might have a fire, you need a response quickly. You might have a medical issue, you need a response. And we know in today's day and age, we're using and overusing the police often to try to make sure our neighborhoods are safe. And so it's a good area of the budget for me to show my expertise. I've also chaired the Committee on Ways and Means in 2007. So that's oversight of the entire city budget. And I've been the Government Operations Chair, which deals with legislation that goes to Beacon Hill from the city. So there's home rule petitions that go to Beacon Hill, ordinances that the council pass, they all come through government operations. So I've chaired mostly every committee during my 19 years. And the most fun I've had was being the president, though.
But in the public safety, the violent gun control and the safety in the neighborhood,
Yes,
that for a long time, and you see it up and down. What is your opinion? Why it's up and down?
Well, it's an inexact science. You can never predict when somebody is going to act out. I will say for Boston, one homicide is one too many.
Yeah.
This year we've had 26, and last weekend in Chicago they had 27 in the weekend. So Boston is doing a lot of things very well. We are interceding with kids in school, before school programs, after school programs. We've given summer jobs out. We're doing anti-violence marches on the streets where elected officials, police officials, and the clergy are out marching around trying to keep people safe. We've got all sorts of different programmatic options. So Boston is really a model for community policing. Oh. Even President Obama has called the mayor and the police commissioner to Washington and say, you guys are doing something right up there. What are you doing? And so we're trying to help promote our programs to some of these other cities that aren't doing as well right now.
You, counselor, people elect you, and how can you share some memorable story when you contact with your constituency?
That happens every day.
Every day. But
I will tell you a memorable moment when I was city council president and I was at the marathon finish line 2 years ago, and I had just gotten married and my wife wanted to go with me, and I took her to the marathon.
Yeah.
And we were 50 feet from the first of 2 bombs going off. And it was surreal. I watched our police, our EMTs, our Boston Fire people rush to the injured folks, and the Boston Marathon volunteers rushing into danger's way. It was a very uplifting time. And I remember standing there with a party of 5 or 6 people and my poor wife. We had just been married a little over 6-7 months. And the police superintendent turned to me and he said, Mr. President, I've got to get you out of here. And I said, why? And he said, this could be when the second bomb went off, he said, this could be a targeted area. This is like ground zero. Let's get out of here. And they hustled us down an alley. But it was quite a day to be there, see it all happen, and see how Boston worked. And it really was Boston strong. And I was someone there in a position of authority on the finish line, watching it all unfold. It was quite a picture.
Thank you for sharing with us, with the audience, your experience on that day. Now, you say that you born and grew up in Dorchester.
Fuller Street.
Fuller Street.
33 Fuller Street.
What do you think Dorchester today and about 20 years or 17 years ago?
Yeah. Dorchester is changing, as it is every neighborhood of Boston. And we have some capital improvement monies going in to redo Dorchester Avenue, which I voted on on the last 3 budget cycles. It's a 5-year capital plan. So people are going to start seeing physical improvements along Dorchester Avenue, that the money has been in the pipeline for a while. All of the utility work is being done. They're digging up underneath. And so that's a good part of it. We have Main Street business districts. We're pumping vitality into the small business districts of Dorchester. That includes the Fields Corner, Main Streets, and some of the other business districts. And I've always believed that the health of a neighborhood is directly tied to the health of the neighborhood's business district. So if you've got a bustling business district, you've got a good, strong neighborhood. And that's what we're working on. That was Mayor Menino's vision. Mayor Walsh shares that now. And I've always believed that to shop locally, I don't go to malls to shop. I go to the business districts in Boston to give the small businesses that we're fighting for a chance to compete, you know. I think it helps this quality of life in every neighborhood.
Yeah, you know that the Dorchester is the home of more than 10,000 Vietnamese
Yes.
there, and over 200 business in there. And they want to make Field Corner become a destination for culture and business. How do you help them?
How do we help them?
Yeah.
Well, we access some federal funding for the cultural, and there are programs that come from federal funding, and we advocate for them, and we strengthen our business districts, and we set aside parcels of land for different purposes. And those are the ways that I would be helpful to making Fields Corner a vibrant area once again. And
you ever try Vietnamese food?
Mm-hmm. I try lots of it. Look at the size of me.
You not blame Vietnamese food.
No.
Make you bigger.
No, I'm the largest of the at-large councilors.
Yeah, yeah. But you remember which dish you ever try? You can remember that? Maybe
I try them all.
try them all. Okay. All right. Now, the student at the Boston Public School, that very diversity, speak more than 80 languages. And a lot, 1/3 of them is the English language learner. You have any plan or any help for them special?
The city council has, over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, spent considerable time to increase the immersion, English language immersion, because we want to make certain that those particular students that use English as a second language do not fall behind because of the impediment of English. So the city council has, over the course of not just me, but all of the council, we've increased English immersion. We've increased, we get kids into classes earlier. There's more early learning centers now. And we do after school help, remedial help for all. And that's where a lot of our focus has been, to try to decrease the dropout rate and increase the level of fairness, a fair playing field for all students in the Boston schools.
You have a lot of work at the City Hall. You ever feel bored or tired or the work at the City Council?
Bored?
Yeah, or tired?
Every day is different. No. Tired? No. Sometimes at night when you come home you can be tired. But no, it's an exciting position I hold. It's a rewarding position. I feel good if I come home and I'm able to make a difference in someone's life. And part of the job is doing the legislative stuff, holding hearings, passing legislation. But another part of the job is responding to the constituents' call, and whether it's a big problem or a small problem. I learned very early that the person that's calling or the person that visits It may not seem like a big problem to me, but to them, it's the most important thing in their life. So that's the way I treat it when they give me something to do. The other day, I had someone ask me to cut a dead tree out of their sidewalk. The branches were rotting and falling down, and that didn't seem like a big problem. But to them, it was very important. They had grandchildren. They were worried about the grandchild being underneath the tree when it fell and caused them to death. So I got it turned around in about 3 hours, and the person called me up and said, "How did you do that?" I said, "I guess we were just lucky." We called the Parks Department. They went out and they had the arborist cut it down. But these are the types of things that give me a good feeling when I get home and motivates me to get up the next day and go in and do more, you know. And public service is not for everyone, but it's proven a good fit for me for the last 17, 18, 19
years. You already let us know that your memorable moment, but what is the best?
The best moment was the day I was elected the first time to city council president. It was a great day.
Yeah.
And the mayor called me in the morning and said, "Hey, you're going to be president and do a good job." And I said, "Thank you." And then my colleagues all voted for me, and I got up and I banged the gavel down and I said, "This feels pretty good," you know. That was a very memorable day.
Now, you were at the City Hall for a long time, and how you see Boston 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now?
We have some challenges ahead. We are very small geographically. We're only 48 square miles. We're about half the size of Manhattan, which is about one borough of New York. And we've got a lot of folks crammed in here. We need more affordable housing. We're trying to build that along the MBTA transit corridors so people don't use cars. Because right now, if you go anywhere, you're in traffic, no matter what time. It seems like there's a proliferation of traffic in the Boston neighborhoods. And even on the expressway going in and out of town, you're always in a traffic jam. And so we're having growing pains, Boston. And you need to find a way to plan smartly as you expand that growth, so that you don't have people sitting in their car for 4 or 5 hours a day. One of the things I'm trying to do, last year we had the MBTA crippled in the snow, and the Boston doesn't run the T, the state does. The governor's taken that on. But what he's found is that he's got $1 billion in deficit. He's got to come up with $3 or $4 billion just to fix all the antiquated stuff. So I and my colleagues are looking at solar-powered transit. It's like a monorail, like Disney World, and it's powered by solar. And we're going to try to install it on the Greenway, right over the Greenway, going from North Station to South Station, because private sector folks will build that, and it doesn't cost taxpayer money. So it's a challenge, and it's a way to meet that challenge without assuming more public debt. And gentrification, which frankly is longtime Bostonians of middle class means, and that's Vietnamese, that's all are being priced out of Boston's neighborhoods now because of the shortage of housing. And we have to fight that battle as well. And so those are the things that I'm going to be on the lookout for, in addition to trying to keep Boston affordable for the people who live here and make sure that taxpayers are protected, as I've tried to do over my career.
Thank you for all your information now. What is the last message you ask for the Bostonian vote for you?
How long do I have? A minute?
Yeah, that's all.
I've described some of the things that I've been able to make a difference on over the course of my career. Quarry reform is a big issue that Governor Patrick took from me. One strike and you're out doesn't work for people. Everybody makes mistakes, and I was the primary author of quarry reform. I was in my 3rd year on the council when Boston, under my leadership, enacted a living wage ordinance. We were the first city in the Commonwealth to do that. And now the minimum wage, if you work for Boston, is $15 an hour, which the state and the federal government are now trying to catch up to. I talked about pilot reform and getting more funds into City Hall by our colleges and hospitals and more resources to Boston. In the last term, I worked on concussion legislation so that kids that are playing in Boston schools, on ball fields and in community centers are protected from head trauma. And I had Chicago and Los Angeles follow my lead on that. I just recently passed, and the mayor signed into law, DERO, Diesel Emission Reduction Ordinance. In Suffolk County, kids have a 300% greater chance of having asthma because our air is polluted. And now we're putting new guidelines on what diesel trucks and buses can spew. And we're taking the lead ourselves. So countdown crosswalks. I brought them here from Washington, D.C. back in 2003. So especially elderly, when they're crossing Dorchester Avenue, they can now see how many seconds they have to get across. It takes the guesswork. Those are the things that have been the hallmark of my work and have made a difference. Little things, big things in everybody's life. And I'm asking the Vietnamese community and all Bostonians to send me back. The job isn't finished. I give it my best every day. I work for you, and it's a great honor to do that. So on November 3rd, please consider Stephen Murphy. I'm the 5th name on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor, and thank you for watching our VATV program today.